Welcome. All right, we have a great show today. I have a lot of good information to share with you related to, really understanding, will your marketing strategy work? Hey, I'm Rosh Sillars, and I'm a marketer, and I've owned a few companies through the years, and I've brought really my life, my world, my businesses from the ashes from multiple reasons through the years, from recessions to personal livelihood stuff. I mean, just life in general, I guess. And I use these strategies that have worked for me to continue to grow my business. And I share these ideas with you live each week, as well as a video each day during the week. At the end of the week, it's my blog, and that is to share with you the process I'm going through to double my business this year, and hopefully at the same time, help you double your business this year or more. So that's what we're all about. But let's get into this whole conversation about understanding and kind of the signs to understand if your marketing plan will work, will your strategies work. And it's important. It really is important to understand and to have some signals, some red flags, some questions to ask yourself to figure it out. And so that's what we're going to go through today. One of the things I like to, well, actually, here's something I want to get into. So we have a little debate in the office. And one of the things that I refer to the people who, we want to grow our businesses. Maybe we have our own, goals in life to have our own independent professional business, or a business with multiple people, or whatever our dream may be. And then there's those cynics, those people that say, no, you're not going to do it. You can't do it. This is wrong. Go get a real job kind of mentality. And believe me, I have had that more than once in my life. And I often call them one-trick cynics. But some of the team was like, well, what about a one-note cynic? So that's my question to you. What do you think? A one-trick cynic or a one-note cynic? Which one works, or neither? Maybe you have a better idea, something that we can refer to these people that are trying to keep us back. Those are the people we're trying to avoid, and we can do the best way to push them back is to grow our businesses with great strategies. So here's some ideas that I think you may appreciate. So some things to think about. I mean, this first one is a touchy one because in the beginning, we don't have a lot of money, but in the beginning, we also today have so many more opportunities to get quality, semi-quality work done. And I say semi, but let me explain that in a moment. But, a lot of times we're doing things on our own when we shouldn't. And I think graphic design is a good example of that. And believe me, I have been there. I have done that. And I paid the price for it through the years by not having quality graphic design created, going beyond the reach of my skill level. And honestly, yeah, I probably still do that once in a while too. But here's the thing. I shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it because there's so much available to us, so many programs out there that can help us to even at a little bit better level than we were just doing it on our own. In other words, you can't get away with just a little clip art, throwing a few things together and thinking it looks professional and thinking it's okay. Okay is not good enough, especially when everyone has so many good tools available to them. The competition is gonna take you out because they have done it right. They even went online and found a real graphic designer to create something for them. So I guess that's what I'm recommending to you. Have a real professional, whether it's a photographer or if it's a graphic designer or marketer. If there's areas of marketing that you are not strong in, have people do it for you. But I have something on the other end of that too. Now, at the very end of this, I have one area that I think a lot of people are really missing the boat on. And I think it's probably, after all this has been said, there's this one thing that really, I've seen more marketing strategies and plans fail because this was not put into place. So at the end of the video, I'll share that with you because that's the last thing on my list. But the next thing I want to share with you, one is ask yourself, this question. Okay, you have your ideas, you have it all out ready to go, but is your story or is the concept you're trying to share, is your message too complex? That's one way to think about it. Is it easy? Does it roll off the tongue? Is it something that people can take with them easily? Or do you really have to explain it? And if you really have to explain it, it's probably not going to work very well. You need to take the time to simplify and figure this out and make it a story, a concept, an idea that people can easily carry with them and share. That is so important. The sharing element. The more I'm breaking down the marketing strategies that I've been breaking down and sharing, I have a couple more good ones this week. Just marketing strategies from different brands that have been growing lately in the last few years and have made big names for themselves. Their story is so shareable. And not only that, they're using a lot of influencer marketing. We've talked about that quite a bit. Influencer marketing is just so huge, but finding the right influencer, that's another issue, and that's something we can talk about a little bit more. If you have questions, put them in the chat box. If you have questions on the replay, put them in the comments, and I'll more than happy to follow up with you. That's what I'm here for, of course. Okay, so next thing on that story front, the message. Here's a question. Is that message all about you? Is it all about you? If your story and your message and what you're trying to get across to people is all about you and your product and how great it is, there's a problem. One of the things that I'm seeing is that a lot of companies are connecting to a theme of people. They're part of this community. They are not the community necessarily. Some eventually become the community, but a lot of them become a part of a community. And you all have the same goals or lifestyle or whatever it is that you wish to create, and that brand is part of it. And if your story is just all about how great you are and how wonderful you are and your product is, and it's all about the features, then you're gonna have some issues. You really are. Take a look at the Steve Jobs video. I think that one I share a lot of information related to that, especially creating. Just put in Steve Jobs Sillars, and that will come up the video that will help out with that, with the whole idea of your values and understanding that. All right. Are you? Let's see. What was the next one? Are they excited to tell other people? I mean, if it's about you, if your strategy and your message and your story is about you, people aren't going to be as excited as if you make it about them. So are they excited about you? Are they excited about them? Are you excited about them? Are they getting excited about your product because it's more about them? That's what I really want to get to the heart of. Because if people feel better, empowered to being a better person, just feeling the benefits have such value to them, they're going to share who you are and what you're about. And if you're all about trying to get them to share some basic information more about you, it's kind of like the whole newsletter thing. When people write newsletters and it's all about their company, the greatest things that are happening, nobody cares. Nobody cares. So you need to make sure you're thinking more about them. And here's something that I think that is really important. When developing your strategies, remember, your strategies are a series of tactics. Your overall strategy, and we talk about the solar system strategy, and of course I have a couple of videos on that. Take a look at that. But the solar system strategy, it involves multiple tactics and concepts within it. And I'm not going to go through it right now. Actually, I am reviewing it in the blog at the end of the week. But the average company probably has 10 to 15 tactics that they're using within their strategy. So if you think of that solar system, think of 10, 15 different planets that are working together to combine to ultimately get to the website, the sun, which is where they convert and where they sell. So, you don't have to start off with 10. You can start off 3 or 4 and combine them and see how they work and keep adding ones that seem to work and let go of the ones that don't. That is one of the better strategies. So obviously, at one, are you testing? are you testing these different tactics? See, you can have a tactic fail, but that doesn't mean your strategy is going to fail. A tactic is just part of that strategy. So keep continuously testing different tactics. And sometimes, and the great thing about today, when it comes to marketing our products and services, that we don't have to have just one way of doing things, one headline, one angle. We can start off with 3 or 4 and test them out and see which one people start to resonate with, and then carry that message on. So the days of it being where you get to the whole boardroom gets together and finally they work it out and they come down to, all right, here's the average message because we all agree on it. There are 10 people and everybody has to compromise, and ultimately, it turns into this big old compromise, marketing by committee kind of thing and advertising by committee kind of thing. And it's boring and it's average. Where today you don't have to do that. You don't have to go big, but you can test small first and try everybody's ideas. Try the best 3 or 4 ideas and then take it to the larger scale market. Now, one of the things that I find that truly does not work well, and this is going to sound really obvious, and that is not having a plan, not having a strategy. I have seen that so many times, not having a strategy at all, just getting out there and doing tactics to see if they work. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few moments. It just doesn't work very well. You need to try different combinations, and you need to have an overall strategy and plan to kick it off. Start your plan. It's hard to test things well if you don't have this overall goal, this overall plan ahead of you. All right. Next things I want to talk about, not only do you have a plan, but have you done your research before the plan? Have you done that? Have you taken the time to research? Now, I've also seen it the other way. People spending too much time researching. You need some place to start. And if you research and come up with ideas and even brainstorm, we've talked about this on this channel, how to brainstorm ideas that'll help you brainstorm, such as looking at the extremes, looking at the worst case scenarios, looking at truly understanding the persona of your customer. These are things that will help you in the brainstorming process. What ultimately does your customer want? And it's usually just not a little feature or benefit. It's truly, what is the result? And when you can work through that, that can really help you in the research portion. But don't just keep researching. There's a point in which you have to stop and take a step back here and start saying, it's time to test. And another thing I see is that people are too broad. They just say, we're gonna help everyone. We're just gonna help everyone. Everybody can use our product and service. Don't do that. It's because now you're nothing to know. Find your deep niche. Maybe your best niche, people who like horses, right? I mean, I don't know the product or service you offer, but maybe people who like horses is a nice group of people who really do appreciate what you offer. And eventually you can expand on that, but start there. And that doesn't mean only people who like horses will buy your product or service, but that is where you're identified, and you can build off of that and grow off of that instead of being too broad. I'd rather have, 1,000 customers who are horse people than, 100 customers because I couldn't get my message out there and couldn't connect with enough people. And I was too concerned that, I'd be pigeonholed to people who like horses. If I'm making more money and I have a good community of people, I'm going to go with them. And nothing will stop you from growing overall. Okay. Another thing I think that doesn't work so well, I find this a lot. It's the short time frame. Sometimes it's called, I'll even refer to it as desperation marketing. I think I can do a video on that. Desperation marketing. In other words, you're now going to start marketing because things are going bad. In other words, you've been in business a year or two. Things aren't going the way you thought they would go. So now you're going to start marketing. Unfortunately, you have no budget. You don't have much time, but you think if you put together a good plan, it's now going to work. That's desperation marketing. It rarely works. And I have companies coming to me rather often saying, hey, we're at the brink of going out of business and we need you, can we do something for a couple months and try and save the company? And I'll say no. And the times that I have done that, guess what happened? The company went bankrupt. There was not enough time to really dig in deep to understand what the company is about and where they are, especially if they're a commodity company and they don't have anything special beyond, any of their competitors. So desperation marketing is just not the way to go. You need to be thinking about marketing early on in the game. You need to take the time to plan this out and make it part of your growth strategy from the very beginning. And if it is word of mouth marketing, fine, but make that a conscious decision. We are doing word of mouth marketing. And here's what we're doing to help people share that message. You're actually doing things to help them in that process. Just did a video on Dropbox. What a great example of it. Dropbox, they took the time to think of something different. Not just, hey, you can have a discount if you refer somebody. No, they gave people something that they wanted. They gave people more space. And so if I referred somebody, I got more space. I mean, that honestly was worth more than 10% or referral fee. Because that was really forever, right? I mean, I'm going to spend the $2 I might get on a referral. So that's not going to, it'll be gone, wouldn't even notice it. But the extra space that I got by referring 4 or 5 friends, rather than $10, I got space that I could really use and appreciate and feel like, hey, I have some cushion here and room using this product and service. Okay, going back to desperation marketing, just even the short time frame. Look, if you think that, we're going to try this method for a month and see what happens, don't do it. That's the wrong mindset. Now, you may be able to make a good decision in a month, maybe not. But the mindset is so wrong that most of the time it doesn't work. You truly do need to have your mind in the right place. You also, chances are, if you're saying that, you don't have the money to do what you really need to do, which is say, this is what we're going to try, and we'll make adjustments along the way, but we're going to go to completion 3-6 months, especially 6 months is best. 3 months, absolute minimum. But 6 months will let you know what is working, what's not, and then change it. Take what you learned from that campaign and do it again. And you should be able to have a budget that you can sustain the whole time. In other words, you don't just pile all the money in the first month when you're still learning. Especially in digital these days, a lot of that first month or two is learning. That's the learning curve. Figuring out that, including the AI, artificial intelligence needs that time too. Artificial intelligence is helping us through this process, finding the right people to put our ads in front of, but it takes time to learn too, as well as us in terms of coming up with new ideas and concepts to help overall, whether it's online or off marketing and advertising. So basically it comes down to this: dabbling with marketing doesn't work. Desperation marketing doesn't work. Dabbling, trying a little this and a little that, it doesn't work. It gets you nowhere. But here's the thing. A lot of times, people will do some marketing, and I believe I mentioned this last few weeks, that sometimes they just put a little bit of money in to see what happens. Well, maybe if it takes 100 people to be interested to get 1 or 2 new customers, and if you're dabbling and your dabbling gets you 25 interested people, you very well may not have closed any of them. You haven't even hit that 100 threshold. You just put enough in to get the 25. If you're lucky, maybe you got 1. Maybe if you're super lucky, maybe you got 2. But chances of that happening, so chances are you got nothing. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. it means you needed about 100 people to be interested to close one or two. And hopefully the ROI, return on your investment, is positive. And that's where you need to check and make sure. Because there are many situations where we get 100 people who are kind of interested and say we can remarket to them or market more to them down the road. But right now, only 2 of them are going to close. 2% conversion rate. Sometimes it's 5% conversion rate. Sometimes it's more. But you need to understand and go through the process. And if you don't let it go through the process because you put not enough time and energy, money into it, it's just, you're just going to dabble here, dabble there, and nothing has, even like social media, it takes time to build relationships. It takes time to build friends, just any kind of network. If you're networking in the Chamber of Commerce, you don't just walk in the Chamber of Commerce and everybody's just going to think you're the most awesome person in the world or the greatest company. And unless you have an awesome story, you've already done that, you've done your work, but chances are you need to build some relationships ahead of time. Okay. All right. Where are we? Okay. So the next thing to think about is measuring your conversions. And we just kind of dipped into that, didn't we? You need to have a plan. What is success? A lot of times marketing strategies don't work because you don't have a success metric. So maybe at the end of the month, you were just doing a month, and which I don't recommend, but you got 1 lead. Okay, great. So if that was a positive ROI, you got 1 lead, is that the success metric? But sometimes a success metric has to do with the amount of traffic that was increased to the website, because traffic often equals more sales or more awareness. Or maybe you want 1 million people to have seen your name 3 times. Maybe that's, or 7 times. Maybe that's what you want. Maybe that's a part of the strategy. Maybe you want to increase your YouTube subscribers by 500. Okay, there's your next step. Or Facebook fans or people within a Facebook group that you can connect with and build community with. These are metrics that I think are all very important. And it can be very important depending on your goals, of course. But here's the thing, you don't want just the 1 metric, more traffic, right? What do we want? We know this well by now when it comes to marketing. Awareness, traffic, conversions. That is what we're looking for. And so I want you to really think about that. What is your metric? Awareness, how many people saw what you're doing. Traffic, how much increase to your website. Conversions, better conversions, and then of course retention. How many people are falling out from that funnel? How many people are you losing versus how many you're gaining? If you're gaining 10 new customers and losing 2, okay, you're on a positive track. If you are losing 5 and gaining 3, there's a losing track. You're a winning track, gaining 10 and losing 2. So there you go. Okay. What else? So look at your analytics, have realistic expectations, and build off of that. Do your tests, see what happens, and then come up with new, every 3 or 6 months, new goals to work for. Okay. Here's another thing that I see, and this is going to sound funny coming from me, considering I have a company that helps other companies. And that is outsourcing too much. Especially in the social media world, a lot of times companies outsource everything and are not really connecting. They're just posting stuff out there. They're just sending stuff out there, but not really connecting and building relationships. Now, there are some companies who can do that well for you, but you need to see what they have done before. You need to see how or understand, if nothing else, what is their philosophy? Are they just posting, or are they really engaging and trying to build relationships and customers for you, especially in social? Nobody will truly believe and understand your company as well as you. And so be careful of what you outsource as well as automate. In smaller companies, I think have a harder time. I know have a harder time automating, and probably in many cases should not. It's the larger companies with a ton of data, more data than they know what to do with, that they can really benefit from some automation and data mining and really discovering, you have, a million customers, and going through and finding, these little grains of hope within there, that maybe there are a million people who didn't buy from you, and you can work with that group of a million and figure out, okay, one, why didn't they buy? Or two, maybe just there's a group that just need a little more information on what that is. Or there's so many things you can do and apply to the data to figure out new ways to approach these folks. But if it's 10 personal calls a week, that's totally different. Or a few emails or so forth. You need to make sure that you have a lot of data. Now, there are smaller companies that have really nice email lists, and that can be helpful. If you have a good, strong email list, a little automation to keep things going, that can be very beneficial. Okay, moving forward, here's the number one thing. And then I have another element too after this. But the number one thing that I see, that companies are not doing related to their marketing plan, that is really sending their marketing plan and strategy into failure, is who's catching the leads. What do the leads look like? What is a lead? And will people recognize that lead? I think that's really important. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sent leads and opportunities to customers and they didn't even know they got them. They never checked that email. Nobody was assigned to that email. Or the phone calls. They don't, everything goes to voicemail. Well, most people need their product now. So in other words, taking the time to understand where the leads are going, what is a lead, and who is responsible for that lead, and what are they going to do with it? What are the next steps after the company receives the lead? That is probably the number one thing that I see that can really, it's not obviously the only thing. I mean, obviously a lot of the things that I've talked about can ruin a good or even partially good plan. But how do you know if nobody is there to fulfill that order? Okay, so lastly, this is a difficult subject too for a lot of people. Maybe you don't have a good product. Maybe you don't have something that people are looking for, or at a price point. And I'm always, honestly, I'm not all about going for the lowest price. But and many times I'm saying go higher if you can. Hey, how you doing? Coming in late. Hey, how you doing? Good to have you here. Yeah, I am just finishing up, but I appreciate you being here. So going through this last portion, one, having somebody there to handle leads, and two, just looking at your product and making sure there's a demand for that product. There's a lot of times I've had to have this conversation with people that they want to put this product out into the marketplace. And you have to go back to probably the first thing that we talked about in the very beginning. And that was, what is that story? What is the story that you are bringing to the table? What is the persona of the customer that you are trying to connect with? And if you understand those things, that'll be a good starting point. But if you can't figure out who that customer is, what is their job title, what's their day like, where are they working, what is the problem you are solving, and then think about it. And when I say, what is the problem you're solving, now ask yourself this question: do they really have that problem? And if the answer is yes, are they willing to pay to have that problem solved? And those are the things. All right, that was a long list of different things to consider when really putting your marketing strategy together. What could go wrong? Some ideas that will help you maybe create a stronger marketing strategy. So any questions, any more questions for the day? That's fine. If you don't have any questions here live, feel free to put them in the comments below for those of you who are catching on the replay. You can always ask me questions at Rosh Sillars, and I'm happy to answer them. I'm getting a few more all the time, and I'm enjoying that. At Rosh Sillars on Twitter, that is. And of course, I answer the questions here on this channel when I go live. 2 more videos this week coming. Oh, 3 more videos plus the vlog. So that's 4 videos coming at you this week. I look forward to sharing them. I have 2 of them already laid out on some brands that have very interesting approaches, and they're brands that you're aware of. Interesting approaches to their marketing strategy. So I'm very excited to finish recording those and posting those over the next few days. And then, of course, I have my blog on Friday. What were some of the things I wanted to finish up with? Well, I think for the most part, I appreciate all of you who are watching. This channel is growing, and that I appreciate. We're marching closer to that 1,000 mark, and getting more and more views, people watching the videos and sharing the videos. So that is always a positive thing. And I can't be more grateful for that as we work together to grow our businesses, because the goal this year is to double the business, your business, my business. And we can do that together with really good strategies and working with some great tactics. Okay, that's it for today. You have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.